financial problems, elder law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by Thav Gross. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Today's topic is hot new tax issues with the IRS. Jenny Lingle, welcome back. It's good to have you.
Good to be back, Ken.
Jenny's the head of our tax department at Thav Gross, and you're gonna help us through these tough new issues that are coming out.
Absolutely.
Jeffrey Kirshner, good to see you.
Thanks, Ken. Glad to be here.
And as always, my cohort, Brian Small. Nice to see you, Brian.
Always a pleasure to be here.
All right, so here's what's going on. There's three new developments that we're going to talk about on this show, but before I do that, I want to give you the background of what's going on over at IRS. There were a couple interesting articles recently in the journal. Budget and staffing costs take their toll on IRS, according to John Cohesion, who's the head of the agency. The budget cuts are $900 million from 6 years ago to now, and there's 17,000 fewer IRS staffers. So the agency's shrinking, but their obligation to try and collect money still exists there. He notes that there's $5 billion remaining uncollected from tax returns that should be audited, but they lack the staff to do so. Now take that article and combine it with what came out this week on thehill.com with Trump's budget cuts for IRS. The first budget plan that's been presented is proposing to cut another $239 million from the Treasury's budget. And the quote is, the budget says it's intended to bring renewed discipline to the Treasury by focusing resources on collecting revenue, among other priorities. And Mnuchin, who's the head of Treasury, says he's concerned about low staffing levels at the IRS and worried how the agency could collect revenue with a smaller staff. So here's the framework. They have less people, less money, but they're being told collect. There's two things that go on at IRS. They audit tax returns in order to determine the amount that's owed, and then they focus on collecting with collection officers. What we're seeing is greater emphasis on collection than on audit, and that's a concern from the standpoint of how we deal with people with tax problems, because we handle two types of tax problems. Sure, if you're getting audited, you need assistance in that circumstance, but a lot of people, the problem is they already owe. They filed their returns or they haven't filed them, then we've gotten them filed, and now we're dealing with the collection process. So Jenny, what's going on? What are the things that you're seeing that's new from before?
Well, I'm finding that the IRS is getting much more aggressive with respect to seizing principal residences.
You mean they're taking your home?
Yes. In the past, it was few, but there were far few times when I found that the IRS was taking the steps to seize on people's principal residences.
You know, I've always known that there's actually a statute, 26 USC 633-4E1 allows them to take the home, but in the past we've been doing this for years. We haven't seen that happen very often at all.
I actually have not seen it in the last 15 years. And right now what's happening is there's a push. There's a lot of taxpayers that have kind of slipped through the cracks that owe large dollar amounts to the Internal Revenue Service, and the statute to collect that liability is about to expire.
How long is that statute?
So the IRS has 10 years from the date of assessment to collect the tax. There's a few things that extend that period, but basically it's 10 years from the date of assessment. At that point, they either have to write off the liability or take action so that they can get a judgment, so that gives them another 10 and then 20 years if they renew that judgment to collect that liability. Or they're becoming much more aggressive and saying, we're not going to work out a payment plan for you because it's not going to pay the liability within the statute.
Right, so here, so you're coming close to the statute running.
Correct.
Is this a circumstance where the people basically own their home free and clear, or is it a situation where even if you have a mortgage?
Even if you have a mortgage, however, I'm seeing more where you own your home free and clear, because it's easier for the IRS to rationalize with their limited resources that they should be seizing that home because they don't have a mortgage that has to get paid off before them.
So all of a sudden, so as I understand it, the big problem is a lot of people, you can be in a situation where you have a tax liability, but for one reason or another, they're not after you. So you keep paying down on your home and you pay off your mortgage. Now you own your house free and clear. You feel good about that, but you owe the government $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, maybe $100,000 or more, and now they're coming after the home. In that situation, you've got a big problem.
Absolutely.
All right. What's the procedure that IRS uses to get the home, and what do we do to stop it?
Well, the internal procedures, they have to obtain authority from the Department of Justice. So your case has to be referred. And typically what's happening is a revenue officer is first assigned to your case. And then as the power of attorney, as your accountant, as your attorney, or maybe you're trying to work through this yourself, we're proposing a collection alternative, which is typically either a installment agreement, an uncollectible, maybe an offer and compromise.
So if you get that approved, you're okay?
If you get that approved and you're a formal agreement, then they can't take any other collection action. So what's happening is the revenue officers are rejecting those proposals for installment agreements that in the past they may have accepted. They're saying, yes, your ability to pay may only be $500 a month, but you have this house that is sitting on $300,000 of equity.
And the statute's running
and
out.
the statute is about to run, or your payment's not going to pay it in full within the statute, or we think there's a risk there.
So if they're going to take your house, they have to do a court proceeding, right?
Yep,
First they have to get internal approval from like the district director.
Correct.
It goes way up the chain, so it's a big issue even to them. And then what happens is you're going to get hit with a show cause summons from the federal court saying show up in court because there's an action by the IRS to seize your home.
Correct.
All right. We're coming up to a break, but here's the point. This is real, this is serious, and this is going to happen to some people. If it does, you need to know what do you do if you get that summons, and how can we try and argue to still save your home? And better not yet, we need to know what to do so that doesn't happen to you to begin with. What do you need to plan? We'll be back after the break.
It's devastating, the effects of debt and foreclosure on you and your family. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem. Some fear the word bankruptcy, but in reality, it's a strategy to save your home and to eliminate debt. If you're in financial trouble, timing is critical. You need to take action now. We've been saving homes and eliminating debt for over 33 years.
Call Fav Gross 888-235-HELP. Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Fav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Fav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
A lifetime of hard work. If you don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your savings, and more. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Samasco Law wants you to know that laws are changing. Today, the average cost of nursing home care is $85,000 a year. With proper planning, we can help protect your life savings and get you the Medicaid nursing home benefits you deserve.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Fav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem.
You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirschner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Thav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Thav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
All right, so this is the situation. You own your home, you have no debt on it, and all of a sudden, but you owe taxes, and IRS is coming down on you to seize the home. You get this show cause notice from the court. It's a summons. Step number one, absolutely you can't ignore it. If you ignore it, you have guaranteed that they will seize your home, because when you don't show up in court that day, the magistrate's gonna stamp the order, and then it's a done deal. And if you try and come back into federal court, and first of all, it's an uphill climb. You don't want to come back into court and say, I'm sorry I didn't show up to the first court hearing, Judge, but these are the reasons why I want to keep my home. You're handicapping yourself to the point where you have no chance. So you need to act immediately if you get one of those show cause hearings. But it's a big problem, because the standards are you need to be able to you can't contest the tax in this hearing. All you can do is try and show that they either procedurally didn't do something correct in the process of trying to take the home, a technical defense, or you have to make an argument that says there were other alternatives to the government to collect the tax. Now, Jenny and I and Brian, we've been talking about this, and we see a potential strategy to say, let's give them a judgment, extend the period for another 10 years to collect the money, and then allow us a payment plan to do it. We're going to argue to the judge, it's equitable, it's in the judge's discretion, don't take these people's home. That's the argument to make, and we're hopeful that it will work. But if you're in this situation, it's very serious.
And I think to take a step back from that, some people that are in this situation, their solution was, well, I'm just going to refinance the home and give the money over to the IRS. And the IRS
you can do it.
Is happy to do that, because then they don't have to use their manpower to go through this process. The problem is we're finding a very hard time getting lenders who are willing to work with you when you have a tax problem. The IRS will subordinate their lien if they are receiving the funds.
Which means make their lien come under the new lender's lien.
Correct. So the biggest concern the lenders have is, hey, if we're going to lend money, we want to be in the first position. The IRS understands that. So in certain circumstances, they will agree to subordinate. But the problem is finding a lender that is willing to work with us in those situations.
Yeah, because the conventional lender says you still have the tax problem, particularly if the tax is not being paid off in full.
Correct. If it's being paid off in full,
then you have a better
we
chance.
Usually have an easier time getting that. If it's not, the lenders, some of them are just not understanding the process, and others just don't want to deal with that type of situation.
Other possible remedies, Brian, if in an emergency we could throw them into a 13 or a Chapter 11 if we had to?
You have the ability to restructure the debt and utilize Chapter 13 or Chapter 11 and ostensibly pay back whatever the tax liability is over 5 years. But
you have to show the ability to pay.
You have to have the ability to pay.
Or could you, in a Chapter 11, propose as part of the plan to sell or refinance the home as a way of accomplishing that?
In any sort of a bankruptcy, you can be creative with the plan. And so one argument would be that you have a liquidating Chapter 13 or Chapter 11 where you're liquidating the house over time. So that gives you an opportunity to sell it, make the most amount of profit, pay back the IRS over 5 years. There's room to manipulate, but the problem, of course, is that when you start to get to numbers that are either A, above the debt ceiling for Chapter 13, or B, just too big, and it's not going to satisfy the tax, no matter what happens, it may not be possible.
So here, a couple points. Number one is, just like we talk about with Jeffrey Kirshner, disability and debt ties together, this is your classic case where a serious tax problem, it's not just for the tax professional. We may need the bankruptcy court powers and the ability in order to resolve the problem. That's why the combination of the tools of financial crisis management works so well. But the biggest thing is, if you're in a situation where you owe money on your home, or when you owe the government taxes, and you still have a mortgage, you don't want to pay off that mortgage. This is a time, this guy right here hates lenders and hates banks. We talk about it all the time. If I owe the government a lot of money on taxes, I want to have a mortgage on my home, because if I have the mortgage on my home, the government's going to be much less apt to want to take my home.
This is actually where...
That's where Bank of America becomes my friend.
Those interest-only mortgages actually advantage people, because you're never actually paying down your principal. But another
you own so much on the home that they never do it.
Another bankruptcy strategy with this that I've thought through, and it may or may not work, but remember, income taxes are dischargeable if they're old enough. In this type of situation where the IRS is coming after you to sell your house, those taxes are probably dischargeable. So now, file a Chapter 7, discharge everything that you can personally. Now the only thing that's sitting out there is this asset, this house. Maybe by filing the Chapter 7, the IRS does one of two things. They either accidentally release their lien, which happens all the time, or second, because it gets pulled out of the court system and the revenue officer and gets pulled away
into the bankruptcy court.
By the time the bankruptcy is over, reshuffling may put it to the point where the statute runs out.
And the other issue,
by the time I get to Phoenix.
And the other issue is, if it is a Chapter 7 and they are able to discharge that tax debt, let's say they have a $250,000 home, but they owe $500,000 to the Internal Revenue Service. They may lose their home, but they may come out of that debt-free with respect to the taxes there.
Bottom line on this issue, it's a real serious issue. If you're in this situation, before you, if you owe a lot of money to the IRS and you have a lot of equity in your home, you need to get in here now and start planning for that. Don't even wait till you hear from the collection officer with the summons. It's a serious problem that needs to be a quick remedy. For sure, if you haven't been liened yet, there are things that you can do to protect yourself. But once that lien's there, you need to really take action quickly on this issue. I know there's a couple more issues coming up. I know one, and I'll kind of throw it out there before the break. Collection officers are visiting you at your home and your business.
Absolutely.
What's that about? When we get back from the break, Jenny's going to explain it.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Thav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
Time for announcements. Want to remind our viewers to listen to us Tuesdays noon to 1, 6 to 7 p.m. Law and Reality Live on WCHB 1200 AM 99.9 FM. Also Thursdays 3 to 4, Law and Reality Now with Cliff Russell on 9:10 a.m. We've got seminars coming up on Wednesday, May 24th, 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. There's no better way to enjoy the summer than to become debt-free. We're going to work on all of the methods that we use to preserve future income for you and your family, how to get out of debt, using bankruptcy, solutions outside of bankruptcy. The whole strategy is you eliminate the debt, so instead of taking those payments and giving them to the banks and the credit card companies and the hospitals, you start putting that money away for savings, so you've got a retirement plan when the time comes. Attendees get a free copy of my book, Dump Your Debt. Sign up at lawandreality.com or thavgross.com or call 888-235-HELP. On Wednesday, June 7th from 6 to 7:30 p.m., we have a senior seminar. I'm 55, my parents are 80. What do I need to know? We're going to focus on two aspects: estate planning for the 50-year-old in middle age for your estate plan, what you need to take care of, powers of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, revocable living trust, and a will, what you need to know, how you need to go about doing that, but also focus on your mom and your dad. If you're 55, 60, and you're lucky enough to have your parents, they're going to be 80, 85, and 90, and they're at the age then that care becomes an issue. If you need to go into a nursing home, those costs are $9,000 to $12,000 a month. You need to have a plan. Do you need to qualify for Medicaid in that circumstance? How do you preserve dad's assets so that mom has something to live on if she's still at home? How do you preserve the assets so that it doesn't all end up going to the nursing home? Pat Simasko from Simasko Law is going to walk us through that. Brian's going to talk about debt issues. I'm going to cover the basic estate planning issues. Sign up at lawandreality.com, thavgross.com, or call 888-235-HELP. It's going to be a great seminar. On Wednesday, June 28th, 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m., we have a debt seminar, Solving Debt Issues Caused by Disability or Life's Difficult Road. We're going to combine the issues that we talk about on debt issues with Jeff Kirshner talking about disability issues, because in life, you don't know what's going to happen the next day. And all of a sudden, things can be going okay for you. Then, boom, you're disabled, or you lose your job, or something happens, and all of a sudden, life's road turns sour on you, and you have no income. You need to know, what are your rights? So Jeffrey will take us through all the disability rights, as well as touch on workers' compensation. Brian and I are going to talk about preserving future income for you and your family, your bankruptcy options, and other ways to preserve your income. Beyond the seminars, remember, you're always welcome at Thav Gross to a free consultation. If you've got debt issues, tax issues, estate planning issues, business issues, elder law issues with Pat, or disability issues for Jeff, just go on the website, request a free consultation, or call us at 888-235-HELP, and we'll be glad to schedule that for you. We'll be back.
It's devastating, the effects of debt and foreclosure on you and your family. There is a solution.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem. Some fear the word bankruptcy, but in reality, it's a strategy to save your home and to eliminate debt. If you're in financial trouble, timing is critical. You need to take action now. We've been saving homes and eliminating debt for over 33 years.
Call Thav Gross, 888-235-HELP. Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Thav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
All right, welcome back. All right, so we talked about seizing your home. The other problem that you told me about is all of a sudden the collection officers are being said, get out of the office and go right to the taxpayer's home into their business?
Absolutely.
What's that about?
There's been a push to get the revenue officers out into the field, i.e. out into going to the taxpayer's home, going to the business, rather than sending you letters and scheduling appointments for you to come in and meet with them in their office.
So my business owes payroll taxes or hasn't paid its income taxes, and all of a sudden the IRS guy just pops in the door and says, here's my badge or here's my card, I'm here to visit you, Ken?
Absolutely. I think it's almost as if it's an intimidation tactic.
I would say so.
Because when they show up, you're not expecting them, and I think they believe that they're going to get more information from you than they would if they gave you time to schedule a meeting and contact an attorney and know what your rights are.
What if I've hired you, or I've hired Thav Gross, and you're representing us, and you have a power of attorney with them? Are they still going to come visit me, or are they going to come visit?
Typically, 99% of the time when there's a power of attorney, the revenue officers are going to honor that, and they're going to contact me, or they're going to do the pop into my office.
You mean they'll actually just pop into your office?
Yes, and it's become.
Well, what are you supposed to do then? Just say, tell your clients they have to leave because the IRS is here?
Well, it's become a problem for the IRS as well, because they're spending a lot of time in the field, but they're getting very little done, because if they're showing up at your home during business hours, chances are that you're at work. So all they're getting to do is...
Wait a second. Let me let Donna know, our receptionist. If IRS comes to see Jenny, offer them a cup of coffee and make them comfortable, but don't tell Jenny she has to don't interrupt her if she's in the middle of a client meeting.
Well, no, what's happening is they're showing up, and if I'm in a meeting, they're told that I'm in a meeting, and they're just leaving, and it's wasting a lot of time. I've also had individuals that I'm trying to get in touch with desperately, and they want to get in touch with me, spend 2 hours driving to get to my office, but because they need to surprise me, they don't tell me, and I'm out for coffee.
So this surprise, what are the IRS, you talk to the collection officers all the time, they can't be happy about this either.
Well, they're not, because I don't think it's accomplishing the goal that it's intended to accomplish, which is to throw people off guard, have them give you a lot of information, or maybe just write you a check, which most people can't do.
All right, so, because I want to get to the last item that's going on too, but here's the important point. If you are the taxpayer and they show up at your business or home, you don't want to give them a lot of information. You need to end that conversation as quickly as possible. What you should do, tell them, listen, I've been speaking to an attorney, or I've been meaning to get one. I'm going to do that. I will have my attorney contact you. Please give me your business card, and they'll take care of it. But my attorney has told me not to discuss my tax case without having my attorney present, so I'm going to follow that advice. If they're at your business, all of a sudden say, hey, I got to leave and go pick up my kids at daycare or something, end that meeting. Don't give them your accounts receivable list. Don't give them your customer list. Don't give them your banking information. Be polite, but you do not have to do anything. Do not be intimidated. This is a game they're playing. You don't want to fall privy to it. Important to know that. Now, the other thing you told me about, because we only have a minute left or so, they're watching you on Facebook and social media?
If you have a problem with the Internal Revenue Service and you're assigned to a revenue officer or a revenue agent in the middle of an audit, be cognizant of the fact that they have probably Googled you. They know what you look like. If your Facebook is public, don't be posting things, flashing cash, or your new car, or the vacation you just took.
I owe IRS $50,000, and here on Facebook is a picture of me holding my new Corvette car next to me with the biggest smile on my face saying, wow, look what I got for my birthday. Not a good thing?
Not a good thing.
Or showing all of your vacations, and then the IRS collection officer's looking at your Facebook saying, wow, where's he getting the money for all these vacations?
Absolutely.
Bottom line on social media is it's not just about the IRS. Your job applications, your creditors, your enemies are looking at you, and the people you're doing business with are looking at you. You need to really be sensitive of what you put on LinkedIn and what you put on Facebook. Those things can come back and really burn you. I always say, I don't know about you guys, but I always think, if you're going out of town on vacation, I don't see the logic in posting that on Facebook so that you let everyone know you're out of town. It makes your house vulnerable to theft.
I never have anyone do that, and I always advise my clients, never put anything on Facebook when you're in litigation.
That's a wrap. Have a great week. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality.